All right, everyone. So today's topic on client retention is regarding how to use the saved reports to update your policies. This topic goes in depth, so please just be aware that, there are the help app instructions already in help.radiusbob.com, and then policy update. If you check that, it just says using saved reports. So these are the instructions that we'll be going over. Okay, so the first thing that you would do, let's talk about the why. So, why you would want to do this is because you have new renewal dates or the status has changed for a lot of policies. So, you want to go through and just do a bulk update to add in the new renewal dates and add in any additional details that you have for those policies at the start of the year. So, what you would do is you would go to reports. You would go to saved reports. We'll build a new saved report. We'll name it Policy Updates 2025, so we're super clear. You can make it available to just yourself, admins only, or all users. And then you're going to select client policies. You might also want to select lead policies just in case somebody forgot to convert somebody from a lead to a client. And then if you want all of the policies in one, you would just have this as the filter criteria. But you could also do it based off of a specific carrier or a specific product even. So if you chose Aetna and then one of the Aetna products. But I'm going to leave it for everything since I don't have that much information in here. You could also do it based off of the renewal date of 1/1/2025 or whatever that is, or effective date. So you've got a lot of these options to choose from, but I'm just going to do for all policies and hit next. Now I'm going to come down here to this edit report columns. This is very important because this is the results that are going to appear in your spreadsheet. So now what I'm going to look for is the record ID for the product. So it's record product ID. That's how we're going to match against the right ID for the product to update properly. And then here we have a default of carrier product status, but I'm going to want to delete that and maybe also this information here. And instead of me having those split out, instead of them being all together, I am going to have them as separate fields so that way I can update them. Okay, and then effective date with year, just so we can double check that. Policy status, maybe policy number, whatever details you want to verify. Premium, maybe you want to update the premium for everybody, renewal date with year, etc. So we've got the person's name, the record product ID, the carrier name, the product, the effective date. Maybe we also want the product coverage type, policy coverage type. Okay, so now we're just going to go scroll down here and submit. Excuse me, getting over bronchitis, and it's so much better, but then it just sneaks up on me. So as you could see, hopefully, all I'm doing to add fields to this is I click here, I type what I want, and then it appears down here. And if I don't need something, I delete it. But if I want to reorder it, I could drag that policy coverage type up that way. Okay, so you can sort this, you can add to it, you can subtract from it. I'm going to hit submit. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to hit what do you want to do, and I'm going to click download CSV file. You could also run the report, but that doesn't give you the option to bulk update things. So we're going to have to download the file. Here we go. And then what we'll do is we'll update anything that we need to change. So let's say I see that I'm missing a lot of details here about the policy coverage type. And so I just want to pop that all into ACA because that's an ACA plan. I can, excuse me, I can update this spreadsheet so that way the right data can come back into that product. And then maybe this is Medicare Advantage, like so. And here I see I'm missing a policy, some policy details. So here I can add those things in. Now I see my effective date with year. Obviously I want to tweak that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to renew it for next year on this renewal date with year by saying 1/1/2026 and then paste. The other thing is, oh, here we have a canceled policy. So obviously I don't want to renew that. So another thing you can do, sorry you guys about my dog. So another thing you can do is organize this spreadsheet so that way you can see all of the policy statuses of canceled, verify that those are accurate, and if they are, you can just remove that from the row because we're not going to want to update that on this spreadsheet. So you're not deleting it out of Radius, you're just deleting it from this file. And then the rest of these I am going to put in as active. Poppy. Poppy Berry, come here. Hush. Okay. So then, once we've added in all of this information, we will save this file. I see a few questions, so let me just pause for a moment. Oh, you can't see the spreadsheet. Oh, guys, so sorry about that. Share entire window. I thought I had done that. Okay, can you see this policy update here? Okay, great. I'm going to have to toggle back and forth between the various things. But anyway, so here's where I was updating all of the policy coverages. I sorted it by policy status so that way I could delete anything that was canceled from this list. And then I just popped in the renewal date with year and then just copied it and pasted that. So that way renewal date with year was showing. So you're just basically filling in the data that was missing is all. So here's an example of filling in some data that's missing. So if I wanted to double check that I had products associated for everybody, I could say sort by product, and now I see that these are missing. Poppy Berry, you are being such a nudge. Give me 1 second, you guys. Enough. Go downstairs. Go say hi to Jody. Go say hi. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take myself off camera so I can sit with him and he can be happy. You guys. I was kicked out of my office for the moment, so I am now having to make do. All right. I'm going to... Okay, so we've now exported the report into a CSV file and we've gone to clients, import clients, we scroll down and we look for update existing client policies. This is slightly different than if you were to do a client import. The field names are slightly different. But now we're going to select that CSV file that I needed to create. And we go to next step. And here we can map things. So I don't really need the person's name because it's the same name, but I do need that record product ID, and that's just going to map to record ID. This is one of the wonky things about it. You had to export it as record product ID, but you import it as record ID. Policy coverage type is going to go to policy type. Carrier name is going to go to carrier. Product goes to carrier. I'm sorry, product. Effective date with year goes to effective date. Policy status will go to status, product status. Policy number will go to policy, premium found itself, and then renewal date there. So I'm just mapping it just like you've done in the past, but with very specific information. But the most critical thing is that I matched against that record ID for the policy. So now if I go into one of my clients, that policy should show, let me see if it's already taken effect, that the renewal date is 1/1/2026. See how that shows there? So that's how we were able to update it using that export of all of the policy IDs. You cannot just import a new list, otherwise it will import, it will create a second, like a duplicate policy. Any questions on this process? You can unmute yourself or raise your hand, whatever you want to do. Okay.
Did you say you're going to save this recording?
Yes. Yeah.
Good, because it was going fast and I'm trying to follow along.
Yeah. So let me do a slower recap for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Go down to reports. Go to saved reports.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to build a new saved report and name it something like policy updates 2025. And then you can, if it's specific to a carrier, let's just say in this case it's Aetna, just so I can have a different policy report. So now I'm going to include client policies, and I recommend including lead policies in case somebody forgot to convert somebody. You can add other criteria, but you just scroll all the way down otherwise to next. Then the most important part of this is that you grab the right field names, but the field name that you absolutely have to do the match against is the record product ID. That is going to be how we're going to match the policy ID. And then I am going to delete pretty much all of the rest of this and then add back in the very specific carrier fields. So carrier name, product name, policy status, policy type, policy coverage type, policy number, effective date with year, and renewal date with year. So those are the things that I was trying to update in our system or verify that all of those things are there. If you need any other fields, just keep on adding them. So to add, you just click on this select fields to add, you start typing, you find what you need, you select it in blue, and then it's down here at this. And if you need to rearrange them, you just sort them. If you need to trash something, you hit trash, and then you hit submit. Now it's going to say, what do you want to do? And what you want to do in this case is you are going to download the CSV file. And then you're going to check it out. Let me just stop sharing again and reshare so that way you can see my numbers. So here I'm going to use my spreadsheet to get myself a little bit more organized. I'm going to see, maybe I'll filter by or sort it by, I want to do the policy status. So policy status, so if it's canceled, I don't need to update it. So I'm just going to delete that here because I don't need to update anything in the record. But let's say that these are renewed and now they're not in underwriting anymore. They're all active. So everybody in this sheet is now active. I can update their status easily And then I'm just going to add in their renewal date with year. And if I know what that, let's say their effective date is 1/1/2025, I'll enter that in. Let me see here. So I'm just going to populate this into the rest of them because an agent missed that. And then here we've got like the policy coverage type. Well, I don't have that for everybody. So what I'm going to do is I am going to edit that so that way more data is in my system. So you're using this to kind of be like a qualifying QA type report. Okay, once you've done that, let me see here. Once you've done that, you're going to export the file to a CSV file. Then, let me go back here, oops. Share, Firefox, this one. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll go to Clients, Import Clients, scroll down to where it says Update Existing Client Policies. Let me just make this bigger so you can see it. Click. Scroll down. These are the actual field names that are going to come through, so we'll have to map because I called things differently when I pulled the report. Browse. Next. So type finds itself. Name is the name of the client, but I don't need to import that, so I can leave it as do not import. Record product ID. This will map to record ID. Carrier name maps to carrier. Product found itself. Status, product status. Policy coverage type is product coverage type. Policy number is policy. Effective date with year is effective date. Renewal date is that. And then you just hit import and it's going to update your file. So this is a very useful way for you to update policies in bulk. It's the only way to update policies in bulk, where you can usually use like select all bulk update for clients. You cannot do so for policies. So this is the only way to be able to update those policies in bulk. The reason why is because policies are a kind of a separate feature because they can generate commissions, and they it can really throw off an agency if somebody like bulk updates something and starts paying themselves like $1 million. So that's the reason why we don't allow for bulk updating of policies. You have to be a little bit more strategic and surgical with it. And of course, you can always go into a person's file, into their policy folder, and edit directly from within their file. So that's always an option as well, but not as fun. So that way you can actually have more details in the spreadsheet. Any questions?
Danielle, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
One is, how do we address if it's the same carrier, but the plan ID is different? Do we generate a new policy ID, or is there a way of updating that?
Yeah, I would have it so that way they're two separate policies. So unless for some reason I'm thinking incorrectly, usually when they change the policy number, or if there's a separate policy number, that one product, let's say that this policy number is 1234, and now that plan is going to be canceled.
Termed.
Yeah, or termed, whatever you want to call it. And then we'll save that information. I'm sorry, it's making me choose a choice here. There we go. Okay, so then if you, and then you would just add in the second product, so that way you would have the new plan with a new policy number.
Right. You just mentioned if we put cancel down there, the report would be exported. But if we put term in there, that policy would not be exported out, correct?
Oh no, it just depends on what data you want to have in the file. I think when I was showing you that CSV
Okay.
file, I was just saying you don't need to update a canceled policy really because
Okay.
it's
Gotcha.
canceled. So I was just removing it from that. So that way,
Sure.
because you would have many more results than I showed you on that sample file.
Sure.
So
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, that's the
Sure.
reason for it.
Yeah.
But it's a good
This,
opportunity for you to look at those active policies and be like, oh, that one actually is canceled, and I need to add in the new
right.
policy.
Right. The second question is, I heard the agency block has a capacity to match the commission.
Hmm.
So do we just currently still manually entering the data, or there's a means of connecting with the actual commission?
Well, I can show you how Radius does it. Agency Block is different. So if you
Okay.
wanted to check out their system, you definitely can. We're
Oh
owned by
no,
them.
let's
So,
stick with
okay.
one single
Okay.
system. We
Yeah,
got so many to
I know. I know.
operate.
I'll show you
Yeah,
that in a moment here. Okay. So,
sure. The
just,
last question I have is
mhm.
in terms of licensing renewal, I kind of feel like I need a reminder somehow to keep my own duck in the row
Yeah.
here.
Let me table
Thank you.
that to the end because this is
Sure.
specifically about how to update policies. So give me a moment. Okay, so here I do want to mention to you something that not all of our clients utilize, and I think it's really helpful, especially when you start getting busy or add in other agents. Use the app submit date. That's like the sale date of that policy. So usually you might sell it on November 7th, 2024, but it doesn't go in force until 1/1/2025. That app submit date will allow you to track your sales numbers. So that's really important. Okay, so now let's go to Lynn's question about how to reconcile the commissions. You can go down here to commissions on the left-hand side column if you are an admin. Only admins can see that. So then what you're going to do is you're going to hit import from file. You're going to select the carrier. You're going to find your Excel or CSV file. Excuse me. Use this. Sorry. There we go. And then it's going to map the file so that way it can start the commission import. So here, what you can do is if for some reason it's not finding somebody within Radius, like see how over here it did find a client, but it needs you to select which policy it's going to go to. But then here it doesn't know who that client is. You can click add and then you can create that client. Or if they've already been in the system, you can search for them and associate it with that and then add in that member number here to create the policy on the fly. So you're able to say, oh, it's for plan A, the effective date was this, and you can actually create their policy directly from the commission statement import. So that's a huge time saver. And then you just select them again once you've added that in, and there we have it. So now he's entered into this system. So then once you've finished matching everybody, then you hit save. And then when I go into, was it Anthony? Schmanthony. This guy. Okay, so now when I go into his policies and I look for some of his commissions, let me see here. Here we see that I received $15. But that was like from 2024. So that statement date was an old one, which is why it's not showing me anything for this year. So anyway, but that will show you what you've received versus what you expected. Also, when you are working on this, you might notice that there's generate renewals. So if you are expecting renewals from this year, you just hit generate renewals and it'll start those renewal payments on that structure that you've set up for that year. So it was an annualized renewal amount. Expected amount is $0, but it projected how much you should receive based off of your commission structure. So that's how you can do that reconciliation by importing from the commission module. Then finally, you'll go to reports, revenue report, and then you're going to run a revenue report for that carrier to see if you've captured everything. So let me do for this year to date, since I don't have a lot of data in here. So if I hit run report, it's going to give me the most basic overview of I expect to get $612 in commission, but I actually have received nothing. So now I've got to look and see, why don't I have any payments? So if I hit export report, it will give me a line by line of who should have been paid. Let me share my screen again to my numbers. Okay, can you guys see this? Where it says, here, let me make this bigger. Nope, not that. Zoom the whole thing. Oh well. Anyway, so see where it says expected total amount, expected commission, and then received. So I don't have anything in that received, so that means that I've got to go back to that carrier and find out why they're not paying me after I've done my commission statement import. Does that make sense?